Welcome to Cultivating World Recap, your ultimate destination for all things web novels, manga, and anime. Join us as we explore epic stories, unforgettable characters, and thrilling plot twists from your favorite series. If you're ready to dive into amazing narratives and discover hidden gems, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's embark on this adventure together. Now, let's begin our story. Chapter 81. Dad was wounded. Dad, grandfather, Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai saw Huang Kai rushing over with Chen Ying. All three of them quickly greeted him. The moment Huang Kai saw the injured Huang Peng lying on the floor, he roared at Huang Ming. What is going on? Huang Peng is your younger brother, yet you actually struck him with such a heavy hand. On the way to the eastern courtyard, Chen Ying skipped over the matter of Huang Peng being wounded, so Huang Kai thought it must be Huang Ming who injured Huang Peng so badly. Before Huang Ming could say anything, Huang Jun interrupted them by saying, "Grandfather, this is my master, Big Sword sect leader." He indicated with his hand towards Liu Wai next to him. The angry Huang Kai went into a daze as he looked at the strangely dressed middle-aged man. Big Sword sect leader? Grandfather, just now, second uncle was disrespectful towards our Big Sword sect and offended master. It was due to this reason that Master Wood Huang Jun let his words fade here, but his implied meaning was evident. Liu Wai's cold eyes swept past Huang Kai. You are Huang Kai? These people were injured by me. What about it? You want to vent your anger on me? Huang Kai became awkward and embarrassed. Then his face cracked a cordial smile. So it is the sect leader of Big Sword sect, Senior Liu Wai. What is Senior Liu Wai saying? It was Huang Peng who offended Big Sword sect and Senior Liu Wai in the first place. It is his honor to be taught a lesson by Senior Liu Wai. Indeed, a lesson ought to be taught. Compared to the momentum when the two arrived, Huang Kai and Chen Ying seemed like another person. Liu Wai snorted coldly and advised Huang Kai in a condescending tone, "Huang Kai, in my opinion, a son like this is not worth keeping. You won't know which day he would bring an annihilating catastrophe onto the Huang clan manor." Huang Kai's expression grew ugly, not knowing what to say. When Su Yan, who was holding Huang Peng, heard that, she was scared and outraged at the same time. However, Liu Wai flicked his sleeve and left after saying that along with Huang Jun, Huang Ming, and Huang Wai following closely behind. Huang Kai opened his mouth, closed it, and then opened again a couple times, yet no words came out as he watched the four silhouettes grow smaller. Standing there, his expression was dark and gloomy, and no one knew what he was thinking about. "Manor Lord, you see, the second Manor Lord." Minutes later, Chen Ying walked up to Huang Kai and asked cautiously, "Should we let the second Manor Lord heal first?" Huang Kai looked up to the sky and sighed. Then he turned around and left after nodding to Chen Ying, indicating that he agreed with his suggestion. After leaving the eastern courtyard, Liu Wai, Huang Jun, Huang Ming, and Huang Wai sect master and the father and two sons returned to the northern courtyard. Huang Ming insisted that Liu Wai rest first, and made the proper arrangements. When everything was arranged, the trio of father and sons left the yard and went to the main hall. Seated in the main hall, Huang Wai boldly said to Huang Ming, "Dad, we should take this opportunity and persuade grandfather to banish Huang Peng from Huang clan manor. As long as Huang Peng is out of the way, the future manor lord position is guaranteed to be taken over by Dad." Banish Huang Peng from Huang clan manor? Huang Ming frowned. "That is not very good, right? Who cares if it is good or not?" Huang Wai subsequently added, "Dad, you've said before to be successful, one should not bother with trifling matters. If that Huang Peng remains here in Huang clan manor, he will always be a risk factor for Dad. Ever since the last clan assembly, grandfather's attitude towards Huang Peng has changed 180 degrees, and you are aware of it yourself. Not only that, many of the manor elders had leaned towards Huang Peng's side and tongues are already wagging around the manor that there is a high chance that grandfather would pass the manor lord position to Huang Peng." At this time, Huang Jun supported Huang Wai, saying what little brother said is reasonable. "Dad, we can use Huang Peng offending my master as an excuse to persuade grandfather to banish Huang Peng from Huang clan manor." Huang Ming kept mum. "Dad, there's nothing to worry about." Huang Wai persuaded. Huang Min raised his head, looking at his two sons as he nodded. 2 days passed. Today is now the first day of New Year. Like many years of tradition, Huang clan manor had a festive atmosphere and red New Year decorations were everywhere in the manor. The mood was especially high and festive in the northern courtyard, and the quiet eastern courtyard was a stark comparison. While the Huang clan manor's guards and servants were busy with preparation, a few miles outside of Huang clan manor, several figures were braving the snow-laden road, heading closer to Huang clan manor. Seeing the outline of Huang clan manor getting closer and closer, a sudden excitement rose in Huang Xiaolong's heart. Finally, he has returned to Huang clan manor. "Dad, Mom's son is back." Soon, Huang Xiaolong reached the open space in front of Huang clan manor's main entrance and stood there, looking at the door. He remembered the scene from 1 year ago when he left Huang Clan Manor with Fei Hu, and his parents stood on this exact spot, watching his departure. At this time, snow floated down from above and some landed on Huang Xiaolong's body, exuding small bursts of coldness. It's snowing again, Huang Xiaolong muttered to himself. There was a big snowstorm at the end of last year too. Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu stood a few steps behind Huang Xiaolong and both did not say anything as they waited for Huang Xiaolong. Shai. At this moment, the little violet monkey on Huang Xiaolong's shoulder squeaked excitedly. On this trip back to Huang Clan Manor, Huang Xiaolong of course brought the little violet monkey back with him. The little violet monkey's squeaking seemed to pull Huang Xiaolong back from his reminiscing. He glanced at the little guy bouncing on his shoulder and smiled. Apparently, this little guy is urging him to go in quickly. Let's go home. Huang Xiaolong chuckled, lifted his feet and stepped through the door. Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu followed after Huang Xiaolong into Huang Clan Manor. However, when Huang Xiaolong walked into Huang Clan Manor, he noticed the guards and servants avoided him from miles away with strange expressions on their faces. This raised doubt and suspicion in Huang Xiaolong. When he was near the eastern courtyard, Huang Xiaolong spotted his little brother Huang Xiaohai squatting in one corner, hitting the snow on the ground with a little stick while crying. Xiaohai! Huang Xiaolong called out. Hearing the familiar voice, Huang Xiaohai jumped up abruptly and spun around, and his little legs flew towards Huang Xiaolong. Hugging Huang Xiaolong, Huang Xiaohai cried out loud, "Big brother, you're finally back." Woo, woo, woo. In an instant, Huang Xiaohai's tears had dampened Huang Xiaolong's robe. Xiaohai, tell big brother what happened. Did Huang Min bully you? Huang Xiaolong asked gently, wiping away the tear stains from Huang Xiaohai's face. Huang Xiaohai did not answer and kept crying pitifully. What is it? Xiaohai, what happened? Huang Xiaolong had a bad premonition in his heart. Dad, hee. Huang Xiaohai sobbed and choked out some almost unintelligible words from his mouth. Dad was wounded, and second sister too. Huang Xiaohai cried out while wiping his own tears. What? Huang Xiaolong's expression did not look good as he bolted into the eastern courtyard. Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu exchanged a look and hastened to catch up to Huang Xiaolong. Hurrying to his father's room, the door was already open and Huang Xiaolong dashed into the room. Dad. Stepping into the room, the first person he saw was his mother, Suyan, sitting beside the bed. Her head turned over to look at him, and Huang Xiaolong saw her eyes were red from crying. And a person was lying on the bed, his father, Huang Peng. Dad. Huang Xiaolong came to the bedside, leaned in close to Huang Peng and called out. His eyes were red-rimmed. On the bed, a ghastly pale Huang Peng slowly opened his eyes. Seeing Huang Xiaolong, he tried to smile and emitted a weak and croaky voice that was barely audible. Xiaolong, you're back. Dad, who was it? Tell me who was it that wounded you like this? Huang Xiaolong's fists clenched tightly seeing his father's terrible complexion, and his heart ached and filled with wrath. Chapter 82. Roll out here. When Huang Peng heard Huang Xiaolong's words, he smiled weakly and exerted great effort to talk, and still his voice sounded small and weak. Xiaolong, Dad, is all right really. Huang Peng's words only served to make Huang Xiaolong's heartache increase. All right? Injured to this extent, yet Dad actually insisted that he is all right. Mom, who injured Dad? Who did it? Tell me. Huang Xiaolong turned to the side, demanding an answer from Suyan. Suyan hesitated, her eyes still red and swollen from crying. Xiaolong, you must quickly leave. Leave Huang Clan Manor. Huang Peng suddenly urged. Yes, Xiaolong, quickly leave Huang Clan Manor. The faster the better. Suyan agreed, compelling her son. Leave Huang Clan Manor? Huang Xiaolong was stunned, and a possibility crossed his mind. He asked in an enraged tone, Dad, is it Huang Ming? A trace of panic emerged in Huang Peng and Suyan's eyes, both refusing to answer. Huang Ming! Really it was him. Seeing his parents' reaction, Huang Xiaolong knew he had guessed correctly. A fiery fury burned in his heart and killing intent flashed across his pupils and disappeared just as fast. He turned around wanting to leave the room. Xiaolong. Suyan grabbed Huang Xiaolong's hand, and she shook her head while crying out, Don't go to the northern courtyard. Huang Wai's brother, Huang Jun, came back. Along with Huang Jun is his master, the big sword sect leader, Liu Wai. Big sword sect leader Liu Wai. Huang Xiaolong's eyes narrowed dangerously. Yes, in fact, your dad was wounded by Liu Wai. That Liu Wai is a Xiantian realm expert. Suyan sobbed and choked as she told what happened. 2 days ago, Huang Jun came back and found out that you broke Huang Wai's hands and legs during last year's clan assembly, and that senior Fei who wounded Huang Ming. That was why, the day before yesterday, Huang Jun, Huang Ming, and Huang Wai brought the Liu Wai over to the eastern courtyard. Suyan stopped here, but anyone could have guessed what took place after that. Huang Wai also kicked your little sister. Su Yan cried even louder, thinking of her daughter's tragic situation. Wang Jun, Wang Ming, and Wang Wai even said, when you come back, they will clear the debt with you and Senior Fei Hu. Zhao Long, you must quickly leave Wang Clan Manor with Senior Fei Hu. Otherwise, when they know that you came back, it will be too late. Wang Jun, Wang Ming, Wang Wai, Liu Wai. A sharp, piercing light gleamed in Huang Xiaolong's eyes. Turning around, he looked at Marshal Haoshan behind him. Do you know this big sword sect leader, Li Wai? Replying, young master, although that big sword sect leader Li Wai is a Xiantian realm expert, he is only a Xiantian first order. He has just advanced a few years ago. The big sword sect was a sect from the neighboring Beilong kingdom. Liu Wai as the sect leader was, of course, something Marshal Haoshan had knowledge of. However, they have never met each other face to face. Xiantian first order. Huang Xiaolong smirked. It was at this moment that Huang Peng and Su Yan noticed Marshal Haoshan's presence in the room. Young master? Could he be Xiaolong's new slave? But both of them did not overthink this matter. Huang Peng looked anxiously at Fei Hu. Senior Fei Hu, I beg you, protect Xiaolong and leave Huang Clan Manor quickly before it is too late. At the same time, in the northern courtyard, a Huang Clan Manor guard came to report Huang Xiaolong's return to the trio of father and sons, Wang Ming, Wang Jun, and Wang Wai. After hearing the report, Wang Wai broke out in happy laughter. Haha, that little doggy Wang Xiaolong and his dog slave Fei Hu really came back. This time, I want to see if they are so lucky and could escape this. As he said this, he looked over at Wang Jun. Big brother, later, don't kill that dog slave Fei Hu. First, destroy his and Huang Xiaolong's cultivation, and then break every bone in their bodies ruthlessly. As for that little doggy Wang Xiaolong, he actually dared to break my hands and legs. I want him to suffer 10 times, 100 times worse. A bloodthirsty light burned in Huang Wai's eyes. Huang Jun looked at his brother and replied, rest assured, I won't let that dog slave Fei Hu die so comfortably. At that time Huang Xiaolong and that Fei Hu's cultivation will be destroyed. As for how to deal with them after that, I'll leave it to Dad and you to decide. He stood up after reassuring Wang Wai. I am going to request Master over now. Wang Ming nodded his head. Thus, Wang Ming, Wang Jun, and Wang Wai left the main hall to invite Liu Wai. While the trio went to see Liu Wai, Wang Kai also got the news of Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu's return. Seated on a chair, he sighed, and to Chen Ying he said, come, let's make a trip to the eastern courtyard. Minutes later, Wang Kai and Chen Ying arrived in the eastern courtyard and coincidentally bumped into 3 people who just came out. Wang Xiaolong, Marshal Haoshan, and Fei Hu. Seeing Wang Kai, Wang Xiaolong's gaze was icy, cold. Earlier, when Su Yan was retelling what happened, Su Yan said 2 days ago, when Wang Kai found out it was Liu Wai who injured his father, Wang Kai actually smiled cordially at Liu Wai and said his father ought to be taught a lesson. Ought. Wang Xiaolong's eyes were like knives falling on Wang Kai's body. Having a guilty conscience, Wang Kai dared not meet Huang Xiaolong's eyes. Suddenly, loud clamoring noises were heard outside the courtyard. Little doggy Wang Xiaolong, I know you and that dog of a slave Fei who are back, roll out here. This was Wang Wai's voice. The coldness in Huang Xiaolong's eyes dropped a few Celsius lower. He had planned to go over to the northern courtyard, but he didn't expect that they would rush over here first. This father and son trio truly can't wait to see him, but it isn't bad. This way saves him the effort to walk over there. He turned towards Fei Hu saying, someone told us to roll out here, let's go. Since some people can't wait to see us, we shouldn't let others down. Yes, young master. Fei Hu and Marshal Haoshan agreed respectfully. The 3 of them brushed past Wang Kai and Chen Ying, walking out from the courtyard, while the ashamed Wang Kai said to Chen Ying, come on, we are also going out. Both of them followed behind Huang Xiaolong's group of 3, exiting the yard. Appearing on the outer perimeter of the eastern courtyard, Huang Xiaolong immediately saw Wang Ming, Wang Wai, and Wang Jun standing outside. It has been close to 3 years since Wang Xiaolong last saw Wang Jun. Despite that, with just one look Wang Xiaolong could recognize him without difficulty. Apart from his height and body, there weren't many changes to his facial features. Standing 1 step in front of the 3 was a strangely dressed middle-aged man. This person should be Wang Jun's master, big sword sect leader, Liu Wai. When Wang Ming, Wang Wai, and Wang Jun saw Huang Xiaolong appear, Wang Wai instantly smirked. Little doggy Wang Xiaolong, you didn't expect us to come over so fast, right? Listening to Wang Wai's callous and disrespectful words, Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu was about to rush out in anger to teach the brat a lesson, but Huang Xiaolong lifted his hand and stopped both of them. He looked at Wang Wai and sneered, I really didn't expect you all would rush here to die so anxiously. Wang Wai was furious, but Huang Jun spoke faster than him. Wang Xiaolong, this is my master Liu Wai. My master Liu Wai is big sword sect leader, a Xiantian realm expert. His eyes swept over Fei Hu behind Huang Xiaolong. He scoffed. He is that dog slave Fei Hu. You think with a tag-along peak late 10th order warrior dog slave you can be arrogant and invincible in this world? Let me tell you in front of my master, that dog slave servant of yours doesn't even qualify as a dog. Just as Wang Jun finished his words, Wang Kai walked out from the eastern courtyard entrance with Chen Ying. Seeing Wang Kai, Wang Ming, Wang Jun, and Wang Wai were stunned. Wang Kai being here in the eastern courtyard at this time was truly out of their expectations. Chapter 83. What thing is Big Sword Sect? Dad. Grandfather. Seeing Wang Kai, the trio of father and sons greeted him. Wang Kai nodded while sighing in his heart. Although Wang Ming and his sons greeted him as usual, the respect is no longer there like previous times. Anyone could tell it was just a perfunctory greeting to a relative. Senior Liu Wai. Wang Kai came in front of Liu Wai and greeted respectfully. Liu Wai did not even bother to nod, only snorted in through his nostril and focused his attention on Huang Xiaolong, as well as Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu who were guarding him from behind. When his gaze fell upon Fei Hu he questioned. You are Fei Hu? Peak late, 10th order? It wasn't easy for you to cultivate till the peak late 10th order minus will do it this way. If you kneel and surrender to me voluntarily, surrender to Big Sword Sect, I can spare your life and appoint you as our Big Sword Sect's elder. Wang Jun, Wang Ming, and Wang Wai went into a daze. Big Sword Sect elder. Master this. Wang Jun couldn't resist opening his mouth. The expression on Liu Wai's face turned cold with dissatisfaction. You are not yet qualified to intervene here, step back. Wang Jun's heart quivered and quickly said, Yes, master. Have you thought it over well? Liu Wai turned back to Fei Hu. At this time, Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu exchanged a look. Both couldn't resist but to burst out laughing. What are you two laughing at? Liu Wai darkened. Fei Hu looked at the opposite sight, sneered Big Sword Sect. What thingy is Big Sword Sect? After Fei Hu's words landed, Wang Jun, Wang Ming, Wang Wai, even Wang Kai and Chen Ying were dumbfounded, looking at Fei Hu with disbelief. What nonsense is this dog slave spouting? They even doubted if they heard correctly. What did you say? Liu Wai was no exception. He also blanked for a moment. Your ears have problems? Fei Hu generously repeated in a cold voice. I said, what thing you think Big Sword Sect is for me to kneel down and submit to you, wanting to give me an elder position, Che? You! Liu Wai's face turned red then purple due to fury. His aura shot up suddenly and a horrifying energy swept out from his body like a raging wave. The sharp killing intent made Wang Kai and the surrounding people lose their color, and they staggered backward in fright. Die, courting death. Since you're the one who wished for it, I will first destroy your cultivation, and then make you suffer a living death where dying is a luxury. Liu Wai glared furiously. Suddenly, his palm struck out towards Wang Xiaolong, Marshal Haoshan, and Fei Hu at once. I'm going to let you experience my Big Sword Sect's masterpiece Godly Palm skill. Dark golden big palm. 3 huge golden palm prints pierced through the air and reached Wang Xiaolong, Marshal Haoshan, and Fei Hu in an instant. Coincidentally, Su Yan came out from the courtyard at this time and saw what was happening. Scared, she cried out, Xiaolong. On the other hand, Wang Ming, Wang Jun, and Wang Wai were secretly jumping with joy, especially Wang Wai. His eyes were gleaming with a feeling of schadenfreude. Wang Xiaolong, ah Wang Xiaolong, I'll see how miserably you will die. Watching the golden-colored palm nearly strike the 3 people, a silhouette flashed and deflected Liu Wai's attack with one hand. Rumble tilde. A loud explosion thundered and the energy from the impact scattered in all 4 directions. The stones and pavements around were shattered into gravel and dust, swirling up and flying away in the air. Wang Ming, Wang Kai, and the rest ran away in panic. And the Big Sword Sect's sect leader, Liu Wai, staggered back with unsteady steps from the rebound of energy. With every step back, the stone pavement underneath his foot cracked into pieces. Liu Wai retreated to a corner before managing to balance himself. At this time, he finally saw clearly the person who made the move just now, and it was not Fei Hu. A shocked expression was plastered on Liu Wai's face, looking at Marshal Haoshan. You're a Xiantian. This person, like Fei Hu following behind Huang Xiaolong, was wearing a close-fitting robe and looked like an old man in his 70s, yet he was actually a Xiantian realm expert. That strength of his. Xiantian second order. Definitely a second order Xiantian. After overcoming his shock, Liu Wai's face was ugly to the extreme. Despite being a Xiantian himself, he had just advanced not too long ago. It was a huge gap to fight against a second-order Xiantian. Wang Ming, Wang Jun, Wang Wai, Wang Kai and Chen Ying, as well as Su Yan, who just came out of the courtyard, stared stupidly at Marshal Haoshan. Xiantian, actually a Xiantian realm expert. Same as Fei Hu, this old man, the Xiantian expert, called Huang Xiaolong young master. Moreover, he was a higher-order Xiantian realm compared to Liu Wai. How is this possible? Wang Wai stammered. Wang Ming and Huang Jun felt a strong sense of unease and fear after realizing what was happening. Who are you? Li Wai looked at Marshal Hayashin with an ugly expression. There was only so many Xiantian experts in the Luotong kingdom. This 70-year-old man cannot be a nameless person. Marshal Hayashin flew up in silence, ignoring Li Wai, and a long halberd appeared in his hand out of nowhere. It cut down on Li Wai without mercy. Heaven's wrath. Countless halberd images rained down like falling meteors upon Li Wai in a blink of an eye. Terrified, Li Wai retreated to avoid them, and suddenly his hands grew bigger, turning into a golden color. At the same instant, a long sword appeared behind him. It was a very long sword, as if it was composed of dozens of small swords creating a whip-like long sword. Li Wai's martial spirit is called Nine-Joint Swords. Nine-Joint Swords was a top-grade 11 martial spirit. With his martial spirit out, Li Wai waved his hands, and the Nine-Joint Swords became a sword as long as a dragon, constantly rotating around his body while lights of sword rays shot out, clashing against Marshal Hayashin's halberd attack. Yang! 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 A series of collisions rang sharply in the air. Every time it clashed, Li Wai's body would tremble and stagger backward a step. While Li Wai was struggling below, up above in midair, a gigantic black lion emerged behind Marshal Hayashin. A black lion with dark blue pupils. You could even see a terrifying breath break out from its mouth as black fog rolled like dark clouds. Seeing the emergence of the black lion, Li Wai's body quivered, and a thought flashed across his brain. In shock, Li Wai blurted out, You are Luotong Kingdom's Marshal Hayashin. In the whole of Luotong Kingdom, only Marshal Hayashin's martial spirit is a dark nether lion. Marshal Hayashin. Wang Ming, Huang Jun, Huang Wai, Huang Kai, and Su Yan felt like a lightning bolt struck their minds when they heard that, leaving an endless hum what would not go away. Their eyes practically popped out looking at the tight, fitting robe old man. This old man is the Marshal Hayashin of the Luotong Kingdom. The Marshal Hayashin that stands above thousands of soldiers and generals and under one king. Ignoring the expression around him, Marshal Hayashin's silhouette flashed and reappeared in front of Li Wai. The long halberd swung out, and the dark nether lion roared towards the sky as it moved above Li Wai's head. Two paws slamming down on Li Wai akin to two massive black pillars. Nine-joint sword array. Li Wai shouted in fear. The nine-joint sword martial spirit flew up to the sky, from one long sword turning into 9 shorter swords to form a 9-swords array against the dark nether lion, whereby his 2 fists punched at Marshal Hayashin. Boom! A loud explosion rang out, and Li Wai's scream sounded as his body was thrown back, crashing into a wall far back close to the eastern courtyard. From the beginning, Marshal Hayashin's strength was a level higher than him. His beast martial spirit's attack power was way higher than his 9-joint swords. How was Li Wai Marshal Hayashin's opponent? Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai looked at Li Wai, who was stuck into the walls, and a cold shiver ran past their hearts down to their toes. Chapter 84. Eldest Uncle is Wrong. Li Wai was buried under the wall. Rubble suddenly flew out. The 9-joint sword regrouped once again before Li Wai, turning into a dragon long sword. After breaking free from the rubbles, he jumped onto the long sword and the dragon long sword shot out. Li Wai actually wanted to flee. Want to run? Seeing his actions, Marshal Hayashin sneered. His martial spirit, the dark nether lion, returned to his side and soul transformed in an instant, showing a dazzling dark light that glowed 3 meters wide as a strong energy whirled forth from Marshal Hayashin. Marshal Hayashin looked at Li Wai with cold eyes. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and roared towards Li Wai in midair. Nether Lion's 9 roars. A dark black giant of a lion appeared in the air, out of nowhere, and raised its head and roared mightily. A roar that shook the sky. Wang Ming, Wang Kai, and the rest felt their eardrums buzz, temporarily losing their hearing. This was Marshal Hayashin's dark nether lion martial spirit's supernatural ability. Under the terrified eyes of the people below, the sound waves of the roar continued to spread out further, one after another like a hurricane storm, and quickly caught up to Li Wai, who was running away by flight on his long sword. Li Wai's head turned around, and what he saw made his pupils grow smaller with fear. Boom! The sound waves struck Li Wai. Li Wai felt akin to being ripped by a hurricane, his body startled and thrown off ruthlessly down towards the ground. Coincidentally, Li Wai fell on a fake mountain decoration in one of the small gardens, and under his weight, it was crushed and the fake mountain crumbled and pieces of stones flew in all directions. One roar to shoot down Li Wai. Marshal Hayashin flashed and almost instantly reappeared in the small garden Li Wai crashed into, and just when Li Wai managed to crawl up, a halberd swung out. Li Wai dodged the attack in a panic, and although he successfully avoided getting hit in his vital points, the halberd still through his shoulder. Marshal Hayashin pulled out his halberd and warm blood spurted out like a fountain from Li Wai's shoulder. Li Wai's body became unstable from the injury, and his body wobbled as he staggered backward. You! Liu Wai looked at Marshal Hayashin full of fear in his eyes. He wanted to say more, but Marshal Hayashin already closed in on him, and a palm print struck on Liu Wai's chest. Liu Wai felt as if his internal organs shattered within. Both of Marshal Hayashin's hands curled into claws that clasped on Liu Wai and flew towards Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu's direction. Young master, this Liu Wai, how should I handle him? Marshal Hayashin flung Liu Wai down, and Liu Wai's body rolled before Huang Xiaolong's feet. Until now, Liu Wai's once clean robe was stained with patches of his own blood, dirt, and messy hair. No longer was he the image of a proud and arrogant, almighty, overlooking sect leader. Liu Wai wiped off the blood from his face, staring at Huang Xiaolong while sniggering in a belittling manner. Punk, I am Big Sword sect leader. You dare to kill me? Huang Xiaolong sneered instead and said to Marshal Hayashin, first, waste his Kai-Si. Liu Wai's face became ugly to the extreme to his ancient realm expert. The Kai-Si was where battle Kai accumulates. If the Kai-Si was destroyed, it meant a person's cultivation was being destroyed. Even if he wanted to repair his Kai-Si in the future, there are no methods that can do so. Punk, you dare. Liu Wai roared furiously, glaring at Huang Xiaolong. If you dare to destroy my Kai-Si, the experts of Big Sword sect will surely come out in droves to annihilate your entire Huang clan manor. Huang Xiaolong remained indifferent at the threat, and his eyes gaze fell on Marshal Hayashin. Yes, young master. Marshal Hayashin understood Huang Xiaolong's meaning and acknowledged respectfully. One palm aimed at Liu Wai's heart and struck down. Xiantian expert's Kai-Si is located where the heart is. Bang! Ha! A soft blast sound could be heard coming out from Liu Wai's heart area, akin to a burst balloon. Liu Wai let out an excruciating scream, his body rolling on the ground from the pain, banging against the garden marble stone table not far away. Grabbing onto the table, Liu Wai struggled to stand up and he became crazy and shrieked at the top of his lungs, my Kai-Si! You wasted my Kai-Si! He howled towards the heavens, bloodshot eyes, staring with insanity and venomous hatred at Huang Xiaolong and Marshal Hayashin, and he screamed, you will regret this, you'll regret everything that you've done today. Regret? Huang Xiaolong came up to Liu Wai, his hands bent into claws of all of a sudden and grasped onto Liu Wai's two arms, and twisted them forcefully. Ha! Sounds of bones breaking resounded as Huang Xiaolong broke both of Liu Wai's arms. After Liu Wai's Kai-Si was destroyed, he no longer has cultivation. Thus, even in front of Picolate 6th Order Huang Xiaolong, he has no power to resist. The Big Sword sect was one of Bailong Kingdom's powerful sect, and him, as Big Sword sect leader, when has he ever been humiliated in such a manner? He, a Xiantian realm expert's arms were actually twisted, broken by a 10-year-old boy. In pain, but it only increased the perniciousness in his eyes, wishing he could swallow Huang Xiaolong in one go. I want to kill you, you little doggy. When he shouted that, Fei Hu's palm slapped his left cheek, directly slapping Liu Wai away. By the time Liu Wai landed on the ground again, his left face was swollen like a pig. Huang Jun, Huang Ming, Huang Wai, Huang Kaid, and Chen Ying dared not move. They watched Marshal Hayashin waste Liu Wai's Kai-Si, watched both of Liu Wai's arms get miserably twisted and broken by Huang Xiaolong, and their hearts were full of dread and shivering with fear. Especially Huang Jun, Huang Ming, and Huang Wai, this trio of father and sons. Each of their faces was deathly pale, cold like they had fallen into thousands meters of an icy abyss. Their bodies started shaking uncontrollably. Liu Wai exerted the last effort to stand up, and this time, there was no longer viciousness in his eyes but dread. Huang Xiaolong, you spare me. As long as you let me go, I can guarantee my Big Sword sect will not pursue this matter, and will not exact revenge on Huang clan manor. Liu Wai begged, his voice hoarse. Will not exact revenge? Huang Xiaolong stood before him and shook his head. The blades of Asura were already in his hands. Seeing the blades in Huang Xiaolong's hands, Liu Wai convulsed with fear. I beg you, don't kill me, don't kill me. Huang Xiaolong, don't kill me, whatever you want, I can promise you. Huang Xiaolong's expression was cold. Isn't it a little too late to be saying this now? You shouldn't have acted that way from the beginning. When you injured my father 2 days ago, you should have expected such an ending. No, don't kill me, don't kill me. Liu Wai could feel the killing intent exuding from Huang Xiaolong's body. In a moment of fear and panic, Liu Wai actually knelt down. You cannot kill me, I am a Xiantian warrior, you can't kill me. Xiantian warrior? The blades in Huang Xiaolong's hands swung horizontally, and 2 sharp blades lights slashed across space, drawing 2 red lines on Liu Wai's throat. Looking down, both of Liu Wai's hands were clutching at his own neck as he tumbled face down. Blood spilled from the neck through the gaps of his fingers and stained the ground dark red. Big Sword sect leader, Xiantian realm expert Liu Wai, drew his last breath. Liu Wai's corpse laid there with eyes wide open. Perhaps he never thought this ordinary trip to the Luotong Kingdom would become a trip that ended his life. Even more ridiculous was the fact that he actually died from the hands of a 10-year-old little kid. Wang Xiaolong glanced at the stiffening corpse on the ground, and then he turned around, his eyes on Huang Jun, Wang Ming, and Huang Wai not far away. Noticing Huang Xiaolong had turned his attention on them, the trio of father and son's hearts nearly jumped out of their mouths, and their faces ashen. Xiaolong, eldest uncle was wrong, eldest uncle knows now. Suddenly, Wang Ming got down on his knees and knelt before Wang Xiaolong, crying out, "For your dad's sake, spare us, let us 3 father and sons off this once." Yes, Xiaolong. We were confused for a moment. Huang Jun followed his father and got down on his knees. "Please have mercy and let us go, we don't dare do this again in the future. As long as you agree to let us go, we will leave Wang Clan Manor immediately. The future position of Lord Manor is definitely your dad's." Chapter 85. Gifted to me. Spare you all? Huang Xiaolong repeatedly coldly. However, at this moment, Huang Wai was looking at Huang Xiaolong full of burning hatred and said to Huang Ming and Huang Jun, "Dad, big brother, no need to beg this doggy. I don't believe this doggy dares to do anything to us." Hearing this, Huang Ming and Huang Jun's face changed for the worse. "Quickly kneel down and admit your faults to Xiaolong." Huang Ming was exasperated and enraged at the same time. In fact, he was so anxious that when he jumped up, his palm already slapped Huang Wai's face on the right side. And Huang Ming slapped so hard that it made Huang Wai dizzy and disoriented. This animal, already in this kind of situation, yet he doesn't know the severity of the moment. Till this point still he dares to oppose that doggy Huang Xiaolong. Isn't he tired of living? A cold light flashed across Huang Xiaolong's eyes as he watched Huang Wai. Huang Kai, who has been standing at one side, chose to interject at this time. He looked pleadingly at Huang Xiaolong and said, "Xiaolong, Huang Wai is still young and naive. Grandfather, beg you, for your father's sake, spare them. Grandfather guarantees this kind of thing will never happen again in the future." Su Yan was standing close by and heard everything, but she did not say anything. Then all of a sudden, sounds of weak footsteps could be heard coming from the inner courtyard, and the heavily injured Huang Peng was exerting every effort for each step was seen coming out with the help of the servant. Even inside, Huang Peng could hear the blasts from Liu Wai and Marshal Hayashin's battle, and due to his worry about his son, he stubbornly insisted to go out of his room to look at the situation, disregarding his own damaged body. The first thing he saw coming out was Liu Wai's body lying on the ground with blood still flowing out from his neck. However, there was no breath left. Liu Wai, big sword sect leader, was already dead. Huang Peng was greatly shocked, finding it hard to believe. Liu Wai is a Xiantian realm expert, yet in the end he was killed. Who was the one who killed him? "Pengji, why did you come out?" Seeing Huang Peng, Su Yan asked with worry as she quickly ran to his side and held his arms. Huang Peng shook his head, insisting, "I'm okay." Then, he came to Huang Xiaolong's side, watching his big brother Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai kneeling in front of Huang Xiaolong. Although he doesn't know what exactly took place, he could guess more or less what happened. "Huang Peng, you tell Xiaolong to spare them. Huang Ming and his sons know their mistakes," Huang Kai quickly said when he saw Huang Peng coming over. Huang Peng's head turns towards his son, saying, "Xiaolong, why don't you spare them?" To Huang Peng, Huang Xiaolong said, "Dad, you asked me to let them go, but 2 days ago, did they spare you? When Liu Wai injured you, did grandfather tell Huang Ming to spare you?" Huang Xiaolong pointed a finger at Huang Kai. At that time, Huang Kai did not speak up for Huang Peng, telling Huang Ming to spare his parents at all. "Just now, when Liu Wai said he wanted to waste my cultivation, did grandfather beg Huang Ming or any one of them to spare me?" Huang Xiaolong continued, his cold eyes staring at Huang Kai. If not for the coincidence that he brought Marshal Hayashin back with him this time, then the one who died would absolutely be Fei Hu, and he would be turned into a waste and a cripple. Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai will think of many means to torture him. Like what Liu Wai stated earlier, death is better than living and death would be a luxury. Listening to the questions coming from Huang Xiaolong, Huang Kai's head bowed down in shame, and no words would come out from his mouth. Huang Ming and Huang Jun also looked down in silence. Huang Peng sighed and said, "Xiaolong, even so, forgive them this time." "Fine, I won't kill them." Since his dad pleaded for them, he couldn't bear to let his father be disappointed. His cold gaze fell on the trio of father and sons, Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai. "Call for the Huang clan's elder council, and we'll decide this matter according to Huang clan Manor's rules." Decide according to Huang clan Manor's rules. Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wai were secretly relieved in their hearts. However, their faces also turned a shade paler at the same time. According to Huang clan Manor's rules, colluding with outsiders to injure brothers of the clan would be punished by having their cultivation destroyed and being expelled out of Huang clan Manor. Night arrived. Snow continued to fall. Huang Xiaolong stood in his small yard staring at the dark night sky, letting the snow to fall on his body. Earlier in the afternoon, grandfather Huang Kai called for the elders' council and as per the rules of Huang clan manner dealt with Huang Ming, Huang Jun and Huang Wai. But during the meeting, his dad once again pleaded for his eldest uncle, and in the end, only the three's cultivation were destroyed, but they still remained in Huang clan manner. It was grandfather Huang Kai who instructed the chief steward, Chen Ying, to do the act. The council meeting, Huang Xiaolong did not join. He knew because just moments ago, Su Yan came over and told him the results. At this point, Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu came behind Huang Xiaolong. Sovereign, this matter, please don't blame the second man, our lord. After all, that Huang Ming is your eldest uncle. Marshal Haoshan comforted. Huang Xiaolong nodded. I understand. Despite Huang Ming treating Huang Peng that way, his father still pleaded for them. Huang Xiaolong did not blame his father in the slightest. Minutes later, Huang Xiaolong left the small yard with Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu, and the three of them went to Huang Peng's room. Both his father and mother were present in the room. After undergoing the treatment from Huang Xiaolong using the body metamorphose scripture's internal force, Huang Peng's injury had healed a lot, and he was no longer confined to the bed. Xiaolong. Huang Peng and Su Yan, seeing Huang Xiaolong walk in with Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu, both of them stood up in a haste. Greeting, Lord Marshal. Then, Huang Peng and Su Yan nodded in greeting at Marshal Haoshan. By this time, Huang Peng already knew Marshal Haoshan's identity. No. No. Seeing Huang Peng and Su Yan greeted him ceremoniously, Marshal Haoshan was a little flustered, and he hurried up to hold both Huang Peng and Su Yan. Looking at the two, he smiled bitterly. In the future, just call me and Fei Hu by name. Both of us are young master's subordinates. We dare not receive such big greetings from the second manor lord and madam. What Marshal Haoshan said was the truth. Although he is Luotong Kingdom's only marshal, above thousands of soldiers and under one king, before Huang Xiaolong, he is but a subordinate. Despite Marshal Haoshan's words, Huang Peng and Su Yan still dared not call Marshal Haoshan by his name. This was their Luotong Kingdom. One and only Marshal Haoshan. Ah, if this was in the past, they did not even have the qualifications to greet Marshal Haoshan. Moments later, all of them were seated. Before Huang Peng and Su Yan's eyes, Huang Xiaolong took out 20 psyched fruits. This is psyched fruit. Two pairs of eyes were widened and surprised. Huang Xiaolong smiled and nodded. Yes, these 20 psyched fruits were something son found by luck. Dad, Mom, both of you take these psyched fruits and cultivate. Both Huang Peng and Su Yan were about to open their mouth to decline, but Huang Xiaolong was a second faster than them. Shaking his head, Huang Xiaolong said, no need to say anything. I have taken quite a number of psyched fruits. Furthermore, I still have some more of them. Therefore, Huang Peng and Su Yan could only keep the psyched fruits. Just when both of them were elated by the psyched fruits, Huang Xiaolong took out 2 small bottles, and to Huang Peng and Su Yan, he said the following. Dad, Mom, this one is a high-grade grade 4 spirit Dan, Xingyo Dan, whereas this one is a high-grade 5 spirit Dan, Kaisi Dan. Take it. High-grade 4 spirit Dan, Xingyo Dan. High-grade 5 spirit Dan, Kaisi Dan. Huang Peng and Su Yan trembled, looking at their son with an inconceivable expression. Xiaolong, you say inside these 2 bottles are. Huang Peng was tongue-tied, stammering as he tried to ask Huang Xiaolong. Huang Xiaolong chuckled. That's right. Actually, I am a Cosmic Star Academy student. This time in the Academy's competition, I won the first-year category and was rewarded with this Xingyo Dan. As for this Kaisi Dan, it was gifted to me by Principal Sun Jiang and Vice Principal Chen Chu. Chapter 86. Wang Ming and Sons, killed. Cosmic Star Academy student. First-year champion. The principal gifted a high-grade 5 spirit Dan to him. Huang Peng and Su Yan felt as if their heads were spinning, feeling dizzy. Cosmic Star Academy student. Ah, where the entire Luotong Kingdom's most talented juniors gathered. Their son was actually a Cosmic Star Academy student. Not only that, Xiaolong was the first-year champion and was given a high-grade 5 spirit Dan from the principal. What does this mean? Both of them were well aware. This news, however, came too much of a sudden, and it was too shocking and too unbelievable to the point that both of them weren't able to accept it all at the same time. After what seemed like a very long time, Huang Peng and Su Yan gradually recovered from their shock and excitement. Exchanging a look between themselves, Huang Peng shook his head mentally. This son, neither of them could see through him anymore. For it was a peak late. 10th Order Fei Hu following his son, calling him young master, and now, even more shocking was the Luotong Kingdom's Marshal Haoshan also following his son, becoming their son's subordinate. On top of that, he had become a student of the Cosmic Star Academy, and he was the first year's #1 student, and he was gifted a high-grade 5 spirit Dan for no reason and at no cost. Everything that happened made them unable to see through the mysteries surrounding their son. At last, they could only accept the 2 bottles containing Xingyo Dan and Kaisi Dan. Holding the 1 Dan each in their hands, they don't know whether they should be excited or happy. However, After they have calmed down and accepted the two Dans, Wang Xiaolong once again took out two sets of manual, saying this is a set of an earth rank cultivation technique and a battle skill. What? Earth rank cultivation technique and battle skill. The newly recovered Wang Peng and Su Yan were once again struck dizzy. Earth rank. A buzz continued to resound in their brains. A long time later they gradually calmed down. Taking the earth rank cultivation technique and battle skill, both were already speechless. Dad, Mom, after the new year 2 days later, moved to the Luotong Royal City with me. Wang Xiaolong's voice was serious and low. To the Luotong Royal City? This Wang Peng and Su Yan were surprised at their son's abrupt suggestion and hesitated. Due to Lu Wai's death, Wen Clan Manor is no longer safe. Moreover, I bought a mansion in the royal city. Wang Xiaolong said. Very soon, the Big Sword sect will know that Li Wai was killed by him. If his parents and siblings remain in Wang Clan Manor, it is certainly not safe. Both Wang Peng and Su Yan knew the seriousness of the matter, and they had no conflict in moving to the royal city. It's just that they had been living in Wang Clan Manor for so long, especially Wang Peng from the moment he was born. He had always been here. Then your grandfather? When Wang Peng mentioned this, Wang Xiaolong decisively shook his head. Not possible, Dad. There's no need to bring this matter up anymore. Wang Peng sighed in his heart. Initially, he had wanted to ask his son to bring his father together with him, but he knew it was impossible for his son to bring grandfather Wang Kai along. Although his son did not kill Wang Ming and his sons, it doesn't mean Xiaolong had forgiven them. It was because he pleaded for mercy that Xiaolong let the matter be handled according to Wang Clan Manor's rules. Father Wang Kai had always been partial towards Wang Ming's side, and Wang Peng is aware that it was not possible for his son to forgive his father, Wang Kai. Wang Peng could already imagine the scene after they left for the royal city. The arrival of Big Sword Sect's experts descending onto Wang Clan Manor, Lu Wai dying in Wang Clan Manor, and that meant Wang Clan Manor would not be able to escape Big Sword Sect's wrath. From top to bottom the manor would be. Wang Peng was struggling in his heart. 2 days came and went. The new year is here. Cold snow was falling outside while the eastern courtyard was in a lively mood. Little sister Wang Min and his little brother Wang Xiaohai were pestering for Wang Xiaolong to play with them. Even though Wang Min suffered a kick from Wang Wai, her injury was lighter than Wang Peng's, and after treatment from Wang Xiaolong, she was almost completely healed. This new year was one of the happiest new year ever for the two little guys. The warmth and liveliness in the eastern courtyard was the complete opposite from the rest of Wang Clan Manor that was drowned in an eerie silence, especially the northern courtyard as if it was cursed with a dead atmosphere. The new year ended quickly. On the third day of New Year, Wang Xiaolong brought his parents and siblings away from Wang Clan Manor, heading to the Luotong Royal City. When they were leaving, Wang Peng brought along 7 to 8 guards and servants. These guards and servants followed Wang Peng since he was little, and all of them were undoubtedly loyal. Towards this, Wang Xiaolong has no objections. Big brother, is there really a lot of fun places in the royal city? On the road, Wang Min asked Wang Xiaolong. When the two little guys found out that they were going to the royal city, both were jumping with joy. All the way both were chattering non-stop. The royal city is a fun place. Wang Xiaolong smiled and said, Big brother, do we need to go back to Wang Clan Manor in the future? Wang Xiaohai asked. This year, Wang Xiaohai reached the age of 7 and had already gone through the martial spirit awakening ceremony. His talent was good, possessing a top grade 8 martial spirit. What about you? Do you want to go back to Wang Clan Manor? Instead of answering, Wang Xiaolong asked smilingly. I never want to go back to Wang Clan Manor. Wang Xiaohai shook his head vigorously. I don't want to see that jerk Wang Wai again. Wang Peng and Su Yan remained mum on this topic. Because this time Wang Xiaolong was traveling with his family, the speed of their journey was quite slow, using 6 days to travel out of Kanglin County. At the speed they were moving, it would take at least a month for them to reach Luotong Royal City. As they left Kanglin County, Marshal Hayashin informed Wang Xiaolong, Wang Kai, Wang Ming, and the clan moved away from the manor, leaving Wang Clan Manor behind. Wang Xiaolong nodded. This was within his expectation. Wang Kai was afraid Big Sword Sect will vent their wrath on Wang Clan Manor, so he would surely move Wang Clan away to a safer place. Very quickly, 20 days had passed in the journey. In the entire journey, no one felt dull with Wang Min and Wang Xiaohai twittering all the way. Due to the many days spent together, Wang Min, Wang Xiaohai, and the little violet monkey grew familiar. The three often horsed around together. One day, deep into the quiet night, Wang Xiaolong was resting in a spot of open place near a forest. Everyone gathered around the bonfire, and hanging above the bonfire was the sandifern beast and its fragrant smell, wafted around from roasting the meat. Wang Min, Wang Xiaohai, and the little violet monkey were very well behaved, waiting obediently at the side with saliva drooling from their mouths as big, round eyes stared fixedly on the piece of roasting meat. Fire glowed and casted an orangey, red shadow over his parents' silhouette. Watching this scene, a burst of warmth filled Huang Xiaolong's heart. At this time, Marshal Hayashin suddenly came behind Huang Xiaolong, and in a low voice whispered, "Young master, subordinate has something to report about the Huang clan manor." Huang Xiaolong stood up and walked some distance away from the bonfire, more than a dozen meters away to be exact. "What is it?" Huang Xiaolong asked. "Young master, subordinate just received a report saying Big Sword Sect has found Huang Kai and the rest." Marshal Hayashin relayed honestly, "Huang Kai is dead. Huang Ming, Huang Jun, and Huang Wei were also killed off by people from Big Sword Sect." Huang Xiaolong was silent for a moment and then nodded. "I know." After saying that, he turned around, returning to the bonfire. "Xiaolong, what is it?" Huang Peng asked as if he already guessed the outcome. Huang Xiaolong nodded. "Hayashin just reported that the people of the Huang clan manor was found by the Big Sword Sect." Regarding this matter, Huang Xiaolong did not want to hide it from his father. Chapter 87. Let them eat, at the floor below. Hearing this, Huang Peng's body stiffened on the spot, and like him, Su Yan was also stupefied. Only the two little guys, Huang Min and Huang Xiaohai, were staring at the roast meat with shining eyes. Neither of them understood the real meaning of Huang Xiaolong's words when he said Big Sword Sect had found the Huang clan manor's people. The group of guards and servants who followed Huang Peng from Huang clan manor were also looking sad. "Xiaolong, promise father, you must destroy the Big Sword Sect." A long time later, Huang Peng spoke and his voice choked and sounded a little hoarse. "Don't worry, Dad. I will." Huang Xiaolong nodded his head in promise, not for Huang Ming and his sons, but for his parents and little siblings. He absolutely would not allow the existence of Big Sword Sect to threaten his parents and siblings' safety. "Big brother, is the roast meat ready? Can we eat?" At this point, little Huang Xiao inquired, breaking the stuffy atmosphere. His stomach obediently collaborated him, issuing a glue rumbling sound. "My stomach is already flat from hunger." Huang Xiaolong chuckled. "Okay, let's eat." "Yeah." When the two little guys heard their big brother's permission, both jumped with joy. The night gradually became brighter. Huang Xiaolong and his group had started their journey for the day, and 2 days later, they arrived at the Luotong Royal City's big gates. Standing before the big gates leading to the royal city, Huang Peng, Su Yan, the two little guys, and the rest of the group were in a daze. The big city gates gave the new arrivals a strong visual impact. "Big brother, this is our Luotong Kingdom's royal city? Very, very, very big, ah." A long time later, little brother Huang Xiaohai chirped exaggeratedly, using 3 very in a sentence. "Very big." Watching his younger brother's cute reaction, Huang Xiaolong smiled. "Let's go into the city." Huang Xiaolong laughed and said. Hearing this, the two little guys rushed in front of everyone else towards the city gates, competing with each other to see who would enter the city first. At first, the city guards wanted to block Huang Min and Huang Xiaohai's path. However, when they noticed Huang Xiaolong and Marshal Hayashin coming up behind the two little brats, the guards instantly retreated to the side and knelt down on one knee. "Greeting, Lord Marshal Hayashin." These guards of course recognized Marshal Hayashin. "Rise." Marshal Hayashin nodded his head, allowing the city gate guards to stand up. The guards hastened to stand up and retreated to the side respectfully. Huang Xiaolong and his parents walked at the front, followed by Marshal Hayashin and Fei Hu behind them, passing the city gates into the royal city. Huang Min and Huang Xiaohai cheered, rushing through the gates, and in the end, Huang Min won the race. Although Huang Xiaohai's talent was higher than Huang Min's, his martial spirit had just awakened not too long ago. How could he surpass Huang Min, who had been cultivating battle kai for more than a year? The two little guys were panting heavily, wiping beads of sweat from their foreheads. And while the two little guys were wiping off sweats from their little running competition, the city guards were wiping off cold sweat from their own foreheads from the ordeal. Who is that kid, to actually have Marshal Hayashin walking behind him? You surely don't know this since you just arrived in the royal city a few days ago. It's normal that you don't know he's Huang Xiaolong. Huang Xiaolong? Who is Huang Xiaolong? In the time the city guards were gossiping among themselves, Huang Xiaolong and his group disappeared from view. Entering the royal city, strolling in the bustling, wide city streets, Huang Min and Huang Xiaohai ran all around, sometimes looking at some stalls on the right, and then to the left. They were extremely excited and happy. Even the little violet monkey on Huang Xiaolong's shoulder ran down to join the two little guys, running here and there, laughing happily. Watching his little sister and brother playing, Huang Xiaolong also felt happy. After strolling for an hour or so, when they passed by the delicious restaurant, Huang Xiaolong suddenly stopped. Turning around to Huang Peng and Su Yan, he inquired, "Dad, Mom, how about we go in and eat something?" Huang Xiaolong remembered the first time he came to the royal city, when he was here with Fei Hu. The dishes and the snow moon wine of this restaurant were quite good. Before Huang Peng or Su Yan could answer, the little violet monkey was already clapping and squeaking in agreement, greedily smacking his lips as if its saliva was about to fly out. Obviously, it still remembered the taste of the snow moon wine. Seeing this, Wang Peng Suyan nodded and everyone broke out in laughter due to the little violet monkey's antics. Thus they went into the restaurant. The one attending to Huang Xiaolong was the same server as last time. Seeing Huang Xiaolong, the little server's eyes lit up and hurried to welcome Huang Xiaolong, full of respect. Though it has been a year, the little server's memory of Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu was very deep. At that time, the delicious restaurant was nearly demolished. How could he forget them otherwise? With respectful bows and pleasing smiles, the little server led Huang Xiaolong and his group up to the first floor of the restaurant. Soon after, Huang Xiaolong and the rest were seated, and the restaurant's boss came over, still short of breath as if he ran over from some distance away. Sweat was pouring from his face. Quickly tidying his appearance, he came to Huang Xiaolong's table, and the boss saluted Marshal Haoshin and personally arranged the dishes and wine for the two tables Huang Xiaolong's and his companions. The boss even took out the snow moon wine that had been kept for more than a decade to serve them. The moment the snow moon wine was placed on the table, and before anyone could make a move, the little violet monkey had already jumped onto one of the wine urns, lifted it up, and started to drink greedily. It let out a loud burp after it was satisfied, making people break out in laughter all around. As the food and wine were served up, a tantalizing fragrance weaved in the air, causing the two little guys to drool. Chopsticks shot out frequently as sounds of utensils and cups moved. When everyone was enjoying the meal, a pair consisting of a young man and a young woman came up the second floor. Judging from their attitude, they were regular patrons of the delicious restaurant. Huang Xiaolong took a glance at them from the corner of his eyes, noting that both of them looked familiar. Then he remembered when he first arrived in the royal city with Fei Hu, they were the young master and young Miss Lin of the Marquis Mansion. He remembered at that time, this so-called young master Lin and young Miss Lin were riding on stage 4 flame beasts entering the city. Of course they need not pay entry fees at the city gates. Reaching the first floor of the restaurant, Lin Qi looked around and saw Huang Xiaolong's group occupying 2 large tables with 2 little kids that were eating noisily. Lin Qi frowned. She threw a bag of gold coins to the server behind her and pointed towards Huang Xiaolong's direction. And in a commanding tone, she said, "The entire first floor, I'm reserving. Drive out these lowly commoners, tell them to eat below." Lowly commoners. People eating at the 2 tables, including Huang Xiaolong, stopped, turned around. That server was dumbfounded. Lin Qi noticed the little server was in a daze and she snapped, "Didn't you hear what I've said? We are reserving this entire floor. Drive these lowly commoners down and tell them to eat on the floor below. Otherwise they will affect our appetite." Marshal Haoshin and Fei Hu's expression changed. Yet when Marshal Haoshin and Fei Hu wanted to stand up, Huang Xiaolong raised his hand to stop them. Huang Xiaolong waved at the little server, saying, "You come over." Despite being a different server than the one who welcomed Huang Xiaolong, and was not aware of Huang Xiaolong's identity, earlier the boss had instructed each of them to serve these 2 tables respectfully, and not show the slightest neglect. So when the server heard Huang Xiaolong calling him, he scurried over without the slightest delay to Huang Xiaolong's side, inquiring, "Young noble, what are your orders?" Like the other side, Huang Xiaolong threw out a big bag of gold coins to the server, and pointed at the 2 surnamed Lin. "I don't want to see them in the delicious restaurant. Drive them away from the restaurant to avoid them influencing my appetite." Chapter 88. Are there so many coincidences? What did you, a lowly commoner, say? Lin Qi raged, and she pointed a finger at Huang Xiaolong. This lowly commoner dared to say she is. Did you not hear what I said clearly? Huang Xiaolong had an indifferent expression on his calm face. All of a sudden, loud footsteps were heard coming up the staircase, and several guards appeared on the first floor. "Miss, what is the matter?" One of the guards walked up to Lin Qi and asked. These Marquis Mansion guards were initially waiting below, and all of them rushed up quickly hearing their young miss's voice. "This lowly commoner actually dared to insult me. Go and slap him, hard." Lin Qi pointed at Huang Xiaolong and a cruel gleam flashed across her eyes. "Hit until all the teeth in his dog mouth fall out. If anyone dares to interfere, they will be dealt with the same punishment." "Yes, miss." The dozen Marquis Mansion guards spread out and surrounded the 2 tables. One of them walked out, raising his hand, and swept it down hard at Huang Xiaolong's face. The ex-Wang clan manor guards were ruffled seeing this and wanted to dash out, but a silhouette was faster than them and moved before them. The Marquis Mansion guard that was about to slap Huang Xiaolong suddenly screamed, his body inverted outwards, as if he was hit by a big boulder, and tumbled heavily on the floor before rolling down the stairs to the first floor below. A short silence invaded the first floor space. The silhouette who made the move was Fei Hu. After a brief moment of surprised silence, all the Marquis Mansion guards were angered. All of them unsheathed the swords they were carrying, and it was at this time Fei Hu snorted, "Scram!" His voice rolled out like waves, and zigzag lightning materialized out of nowhere like a net. This was Fei Hu's sound of lightning fall, a high-grade mysterious rank battle skill. The strongest amongst these Marquis Mansion guards was a peak late 7th order, and their abilities were insufficient to escape these lightning strikes. After these guards' bodies were struck, shaking and then inverting them out, by the time they fell to the floor, these guards were no longer recognizable. Their bodies were charred soot black with gray smoke rising from them like burning charcoal. You! Watching all the guards they brought being defeated, the expression on Lin Qi and Lin Guo's face was extremely ugly. Slap! Huang Xiaolong's cold voice sounded. Yes, young master. Just as Fei Hu's voice ended, the right side of Lin Qi's face was printed with a 5 fingers red mark. You lowly commoners knows who I am, actually daring to touch me. Lin Qi was afraid, yet furious too. One of her hands was covering the right side of her face as she glared hatefully at Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu, roaring at the top of her lungs. Again. Huang Xiaolong's voice sounded once more. A deeper red 5-finger print appeared on Lin Qi's right cheek. Blood trickled from her mouth as she spat out a tooth. Lin Qi stared at the tooth rolling on the floor and went blank for a moment. She let out a hair-raising shriek towards Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu. You dared to hit me. You actually dared to hit me. You know who I am. I am the Marquis Mansion's miss. My father is Marquis Lin Zion. I want to kill you lowly commoners. Kill off every lowly dog commoners that you are. Tian, why ask when one of your teeth already all out? Again. Huang Xiaolong paid no attention. Pa! Pa! 2 sounds of slapping resounded in the quiet restaurant. This time, Lin Qi's body wobbled as both sides of her face had a burning red 5-finger mark. Blood and a few teeth flew out from her mouth. Younger sis, don't say any more. Let's first return to the Marquis Mansion. Lin Guo, who watched everything from the side, was troubled and irked at the same time. He walked up and pulled Lin Qi away while trying to persuade. He had seen Huang Xiaolong's intentions. If his little sister continued her tirade, she probably would be leaving all her teeth here. Without waiting for Lin Qi's response, Lin Guo already pulled Lin Qi towards the staircase, fleeing as fast as he could. Watching Lin Guo dragging Lin Qi fleeing in panic, Huang Xiaolong sneered. Before Lin Qi disappeared, her face was full of dissatisfaction and hatred, and he trusts that this matter will not end here. If things happened within his expectations, after returning to the Marquis Mansion, the two would return here with a group of experts. The little server looked at Lin Guo and Lin Qi running away in a hurry, and then looked down at the floor that was littered with Marquis Mansion guards. His soul had flown away in shock. His reason returned after a while, and he scurried off to report the matter to his boss. After Lin Guo and Lin Qi ran off, Huang Xiaolong and the others continued with their meal as if nothing happened. As for Lin Guo and Lin Qi, they returned to the Marquis Mansion soon after leaving the delicious restaurant. Lin Qi wailed all the way back to the Marquis Mansion, and both Lin Qi and Lin Guo stepped into the main hall. Marquis Lin Zion was in a good mood, chatting with a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was wearing army-issued armor, and there were a few shiny badges on his shoulder. This middle-aged man was one of Luo Tong Kingdom's generals, General Hong Desheng. Lin Qi was crying as she walked into the main hall, and this startled Lin Zion and Hong Desheng, causing them to stop their discussions. When the two saw Hong Desheng in the main hall, they went up and greeted Uncle Hong. Care, what happened? Who hurt you? Lin Zion saw the blood on his daughter's face and his face darkened. Dad, Uncle Hong, you must seek justice for me. Lin Qi covered her face, while crying. Just now in the delicious restaurant, a group of lowly dog commoners slapped my face. Even my tooth fell out. Woo woo woo. What? Lin Zion's face grew darker. A chilling light flashed across his eyes. Was there anything out of ordinary in that group of people? At this time, Hong Desheng suddenly asked. The three in the hall with him were flabbergasted at the question. Brother Hong, what are you trying to say? Lin Zion inquired. Hong Desheng explained. Do you still remember last year what happened in the delicious restaurant? Lin Zion quivered from head to toe. Last year, Duke Meng Chen and his son, Meng Zia, hurt Marshal Hayashin's junior brother since they were relying on having more people. Later, Marshal Hayashin rushed over to the restaurant and killed Meng Chen and Meng Zia to vent out his wrath. Although the incident was a year ago, how could Lin Zion forget? And the place where Meng Chen and Meng Zia were killed was at the delicious restaurant. Lin Qi and Lin Guo also remembered this incident, and both turned a sickly shade of green, and then they turned white. Brother Hong, such coincidences doesn't happen, right? Lin Zion hesitated for a second before asking. It is better to be safe than sorry. Hong Desheng said. He turned around towards Lin Qi and asked, what does the person who hurted you look like? Lin Qi and Lin Guo described Fei Hu's facial features from memory one by one. Lin Zion and Hong Desheng's face became gloomier by the second, and when Lin Qi and Lin Guo finished, Hong Desheng sounded somber as he stated, I am afraid this person is Marshal Hayashin's junior brother, Fei Hu. Marshal Hayashin's junior brother, Fei Hu. Lin Qi and Lin Guo's faces lost all their color instantly. Suddenly, Hong Desheng thought of a question, asking besides that Fei Hu, was there a man in his 70s? He even described how Marshal Hayashin looked like to them. Lin Qi and Lin Guo tried to remember. But at that time Marshal Hayashin sat with his back facing stairway, so it was inevitable they did not get a good look at everyone there. We did not pay attention. Lin Qi added. There was about 14, 15 of them in total. Oh right, there was a kid about 10 years old, but Fei who listened to his command, calling him young master. Could he be Huang Xiaolong? Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng blurted out the name in unison. Huang Xiaolong. Lin Qi and Lin Guo's bodies trembled, nearly stumbling down. Cosmic Star Academy's first-year champion. This name had long spread to every corner of the royal city. Huang Xiaolong, possessing the primordial divine black dragon martial spirit. This was no longer a secret, and he was lauded to be the #1 talent in Luotong Kingdom's history. If that kid is Huang Xiaolong, then the image where she was trashing Huang Xiaolong as a lowly dog commoner, even ordering her guards to slap Huang Xiaolong's mouth. Her body couldn't stop shaking as if having an episode of epilepsy. Chapter 89. Back to Tangshuan Mansion. Then Dad, what do we do now? Lin Qi's face grew paler and paler. The arrogance and despotic manner from before vanished without a trace. Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng were silent. A heavy atmosphere blanketed the entire big hall. Dad, say something. Lin Qi became anxious. Impudent. Suddenly, the silent Lin Xian stood up in rage, roaring at Lin Qi. All this trouble was caused by you. You think I don't know your personality? If you were not in the wrong, you think that Fei Hu would act. A palm flew across Lin Qi's face, and another 5-finger palm print burned glaringly on her face. Lin Qi clutched at her face, looking dazedly at her father. Tears started to fall abruptly from her eyes. Since she was little, her father had always indulged her requests, as he was afraid to disappoint his daughter. But today, her father actually hit her. The more Lin Qi thought about it, the more wronged she felt, and the louder her wails rang out in the hall. You! Lin Xian raised his hand once more in anger, but in the end, the hand dropped back down. Brother Lin, now is not the time to teach care. Lin Guo, tell me exactly what happened. At this time, Hong Des Heng advised Lin Xian, trying to salvage the situation. Yes, Uncle Hong. Lin Guo replied respectfully and told his father and Uncle Hong what happened from the beginning to the end without the slightest intention to conceal anything. He didn't dare to. Lin Xian heard his son say that his daughter, Lin Qi, ordered the restaurant server to drive out Huang Xiaolong, Fei Hu, and the people within the moment she stepped onto the first floor. Every sentence she said started and ended with lowly dog commoner, and he could no longer remain as calm as he wished. After Lin Guo finished describing the incident, Lin Xian's face was darker than muddy water. Let's do it like this, Brother Lin. Make a trip to the delicious restaurant to apologize to that Huang Xiaolong and Fei Hu. I will accompany you there. Hong Des Heng persuaded. The two of them were old buddies. Since he was here, he couldn't just sit and watch without doing anything to help. Lin Xian's expression did not look better. It seems this is the only way. Moments later, Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng brought Lin Qi and Lin Guo to the delicious restaurant. And soon, the four of them came to the delicious restaurant's first floor where Huang Xiaolong's group was at. Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng were about to speak, when both of them noticed the figure sitting next to Huang Xiaolong. Both of them stiffened and their footsteps halted abruptly. Their eyes bulged out. Lord Marshal Hayashin. At this point of time, Marshal Hayashin turned around at their voices. When they saw Marshal Hayashin's face, Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng felt their minds go blank with fear. Both were turning pale in a heartbeat. Behind them were Lin Qi and Lin Guo. When both of them heard the words their father exclaimed out loud, their legs wobbled and went limp, nearly falling to the floor. No matter how they suppressed the fear, they couldn't stand properly. Initially, before they came over, Lin Xian and Hong Des Heng were wishing for some good fortune that Marshal Hayashin was not present during that time. But now, 1 hour later, Huang Xiaolong, Marshal Hayashin, and the rest of the group left the delicious restaurant. After Huang Xiaolong left, Lin Xian, his children, and Hong Des Heng also walked out of the restaurant looking dissolute and spiritless. No one knows what took place in that 1 hour's time. However, the next day morning, Lin Xian's marquis title was rescinded, and it was a royal edict made by King Luji himself. On Huang Xiaolong's side, after they left the restaurant, the group headed to Tangshuan Mansion. As they got near, Boli and the servants were waiting outside. Big brother, this Tangshuan Mansion is our home from now on. Standing before the entrance of Tangshuan Mansion, little sister Huang Min asked with anticipation. Huang Xiaolong nodded and smiled, and Tangshuan Mansion is our home from now on. Huang Min and Huang Zhou bounced with delight at Huang Xiaolong's answer, racing each other inside. This made everyone break out in laughter. Dad, Mom, let's go in. Huang Xiaolong said to Huang Peng and Su Yan. Both of them nodded, feeling comforted and pleased in their hearts. A while later, everyone went to the main hall and sat down. Huang Xiaolong requested Fei Hu to arrange the accommodation for his parents, siblings, and the servant guards that followed Huang Peng from Huang Clan Manor. Before going back to Huang Clan Manor for the new year, Wang Xiaolong gave Fei Hu 1,000,000 gold coins to buy off the neighboring mansions. Thus the current Tangshuan mansion's lands had expanded by a factor of 4, and there were plenty of rooms. Due to fatigue from traveling for more than 20 days, Wang Xiaolong sent his parents and little siblings to rest, and only 3 people remained in the main hall: Wang Xiaolong, Marshal Haoshan, and Fei Hu. "What is the result of your investigation?" Wang Xiaolong asked Marshal Haoshan. A few days ago, he had requested Marshal Haoshan to look into the big sword sect situation. Marshal Haoshan stood up and answered respectfully, replying, "Sovereign, the matter was already investigated clearly. At the moment, Big Sword Sect has around 30,000 disciples, and apart from the dead Li Wei, there is another Xiantian realm expert, and that is Li Wei's master Yu Chen. Yu Chen is the previous sect leader. His strength should be mid-second order Xiantian." Li Wei's master Yu Chen, a mid-second order Xiantian. Wang Xiaolong nodded. That means Yu Chen's strength is on par with Marshal Haoshan. Then, Marshal Haoshan continued to report the findings related to Big Sword Sect, the number of 10th order disciples, 9th order disciples, and so on. Listening to the end of Marshal Haoshan's report, Wang Xiaolong's brows creased deeply. It seems to destroy the Big Sword Sect was not as easy as he first thought. Although Big Sword Sect only has one remaining Xiantian expert, Yu Chen, as one of the prominent sects of Beilong Kingdom, the number of 10th order and 9th order disciples were not insignificant. Moreover, he cannot let Marshal Haoshan call up the army for this. If the army was used, it meant war between 2 kingdoms. If Yu Ming was around, with his Xiantian 10th order strength, it would be as easy as snapping his fingers to get rid of Big Sword Sect. Nonetheless, Yu Ming had returned to the Asura's Gate headquarters, and to rush back here from Star Cloud Continent, it takes at least a year's time. Judging from the situation, he needs to wait until Yu Ming returns before deciding the next step. Now his parents and siblings are with him in the royal city, and as long as that Yu Chen does not run over here, his parents and siblings would be safe with Marshal Haoshan's protection. Some time later, Marshal Haoshan and Fei Hu left the main hall. "I must break through to the 7th order as soon as possible," Wang Xiaolong thought to himself. Once he advanced to the 7th order, he could open the Linglong Pagoda's first layer and get the heritage physique cultivation technique, Golden Linglong Body. In addition to his martial spirit's abilities, he could fight against an 8th order warrior. Not only that, after opening the first layer of Linglong Treasure Pagoda, he could give the Fire Dragon Pearl to his parents. When his parents become stronger, the better they can protect themselves. Lastly, after he stepped into the 7th order, his martial spirits would evolve a second time, and Wang Xiaolong looked forward to his twin dragon's transformation. In general, after advancing to the 7th order, and after the martial spirit evolved a second time, its innate ability would also be strengthened. In some cases, martial spirits could gain new abilities after undergoing the second transformation. Although the probability for this to happen is very low, the higher the grade of martial spirits, the higher the probability for it to happen. Going back to his room, Wang Xiaolong climbed onto the cold jade bed, and called out the twin dragons and started to practice. Using the month travel time to get to the royal city, Wang Xiaolong had persevered with his practice. On top of that, the Linglong Treasure Pagoda inside his body emitted Fire Dragon Kai at all times, tempering his physique and improving his battle Kai. This made Wang Xiaolong grow stronger every day, and the barrier to the 7th order became thinner every second. He had a feeling that within 1 month's time he could advance to the 7th order. Chapter 90. Wrath of the Nether King. Night arrived. By the time Wang Xiaolong stopped running Asura tactics, it was already late into the night. Moonlight shone down and created a hazy screen on the land, and occasionally, thin clouds veiled the moon. Wang Xiaolong came out to the small yard from his room. Standing in the middle of the yard, he bent his knees and lowered his body, his right hand forming a fist, and punched forward slowly, while his left hand circled behind his back and adjusted his breathing according to the 5th stage of the body metamorphosis scripture. Spiritual energy from the surroundings started to surge towards Wang Xiaolong instantly. Since he left Wang Clan Manor 1 year ago, Wang Xiaolong's practice of body metamorphosis scripture had advanced to the 5th stage with the power to pull 9 bulls as one, and he had reached the peak form that could advance into the 6th stage at any moment. Now, Wang Xiaolong's internal force was sturdy and continued to improve every day. While he breathed, white mist can be seen going in and out of his nostrils. If he was still on Earth in his previous life, the current Wang Xiaolong can be called an internal force master. The darkness of the night was gradually replaced by the impending dawn, and Wang Xiaolong finally stopped the body metamorphosis scripture. After that, he called out the blades of Asura. He leaped up into the air and swung the blades of Asura. Instantly, countless blades lights flew out, turning into tiny drops of rain, condensing into a violent rainstorm that enveloped all directions. But at this moment, the violent rainstorm suddenly changed into a drizzle, tender and gentle, barely discernible. From within the minuscule rain blades came the sounds of cries and wails that lasted for a long time. A while later, Wang Xiaolong stopped and took a deep breath. It has taken more than a year's time, and now he finally reached major completion in the Asura Sword Skill's second style, Tears of Asura. He had perfect comprehension for the mood and intent for this move, but the only lacking point was how long his battle kai could support it. In the future, this move would grow more powerful as his battle kai became stronger. Then, the next step is the third style. Huang Xiaolong thought in his mind, and took out the diagrams from the Asura ring, fully concentrating of the third move. Asura Sword Skill third move, Wrath of the Nether King. Studying the illustrated movements, and the route of running his battle kai, he etched them into his mind before returning the diagram back to the ring. He stood in the same spot for some time, when all of a sudden, his body shot forward a few meters like a burning meteor as the blades of Asura was in front of him. Two fire-red blade lights materialized in the air, rushing forward without any signs of stopping, just like the Wrath of the Nether King, crushing everything before it. After the first try, Huang Xiaolong stood still a few meters away, recalling his launching of the attack with the feelings and the movements before comparing them to what was written on the diagrams. 30 minutes later, Huang Xiaolong moved again. His body shot forward like a meteor as he surged to the front with the blades. Two angry, red lights broke out like a volcanic eruption, swirling forward with the fixation of destroying everything in its path. The attack lost its momentum and vanished 100 meters away. After the second try, he stood still again, repeating the previous process. Another 30 minutes passed and Huang Xiaolong made his third attempt. Huang Xiaolong repeated the same process again and again, like when he practiced Tempest of Hell and Tears of Asura for the first time. Continuous attempts as he tried to comprehend the intent of the move. Written along with the third move's illustration, when the Wrath of the Nether King reaches major completion, a swing of the blades is like the eruption of a millennium volcano, like the stampede of a million demonic beasts, and its momentum broke out in an instant at an unbelievable speed, giving the enemy no time to react, and to only die under the Wrath of the Nether King. 3 days passed quickly in practice. During these 3 days, other than the usual practice of Asura tactics and the body metamorphosis scripture, he concentrated on Wrath of the Nether King. Occasionally, Huang Xiaolong would spend some time on the Earth-ranked battle skill he was rewarded with from the Cosmic Star Academy competition, Collapsing Fist. With Huang Xiaolong's current battle K energy, his Collapsing Fist attack could shatter a 10-meter boulder dozen meters away into a pile of gravel. Another 3 days passed. Huang Xiaolong came out from his courtyard. It was the beginning of a new term in Cosmic Star Academy, and Huang Xiaolong planned to go over and have a look. When he came to the main hall, his dad, mom, and 2 younger siblings were already there. Big brother, Huang Min and Huang Xiao, encircled Huang Xiaolong as soon as they saw him, calling out cheerfully. The 2 little guys were each hanging on one side of his arms. Did you have fun these past few days? Huang Xiaolong smiled and asked. Big brother, the royal city is much too fun. There are many, many nice places. Right after Huang Xiaolong's question ended, Huang Xiao, I rushed to answer as if someone was competing with him. Happily, he added. I like it here very much. Huang Xiaolong smiled kindly. Although he was training hard for the past 3 days, he still knew that these 2 little guys went out to play every day, and from the amount of outings they had, perhaps these 2 little guys who went to many places in the royal city in just a few days' time already knew more than him, who had been on the royal city for 1 year so far. Playing around is okay, but you must also remember to practice hard. Huang Xiaolong said. 2 little heads nodded obediently. Don't worry, big brother. I definitely will practice hard so I can beat Huang Wai until he lies dead on the floor. Huang Min said with a serious expression on her face. Huang Xiaolong nodded. Until this moment, his little sister was not aware that Huang Wai, his father, and his elder brother were already dead under the sword of experts from the Big Sword sect. However, Huang Xiaolong did not say this out loud, but having a target as a motivator is a good thing. Dad, Mom, Huang Xiaolong came up to his parents and inquired if their days are well and comfortable in Tangshuan Mansion. Huang Peng laughed. Nothing is uncomfortable. Huang Xiaolong nodded gladly. His father, Huang Peng, had taken the high-grade 4 Spirit Dan, Xingyao Dan, whereas his mother, Su Yan, swallowed the high-grade 5 Spirit Dan, the Kaisi Dan. Both of their cultivations had advanced by 1 order. Huang Peng was now a 7th order, close to peak Erla's 7th order, and Su Yan reached mid-6th order. Oh right, Xiaolong, Miss Lai Lu came to look for you yesterday. At this time, Su Yan suddenly laughed and said, but you were practicing at that time and Miss Lai Lu was here for an hour and then she left. Lai Lu. Huang Xiaolong was a little surprised. Today was the Academy's new term, so it was not surprising that Lai Lu had returned to the royal city from the Lai residence. Xiaolong, Lai Lu is a good girl, Su Yan added, I think. And, Mom, no need to say more. Huang Xiaolong smiled bitterly with a trace of helplessness. He knew what his mother wanted to say even though the 2 of them, him and Lai Lu, were not even 11. The Academy's new term starts today so I'm going to have a look. He quickly stood up before Su Yan could open her mouth to speak, and ran away from the main hall as if he was fleeing for his life. Leaving the main hall, Huang Xiaolong did not stop until he came out of Tangshuan Mansion and headed in the direction of Cosmic Star Academy. Reaching the academy, when the students saw Huang Xiaolong, they all retreated to give way. Their eyes filled awe and admiration. Some had elevated to idolization. Huang Xiaolong ignored the whispers along the way and walked all the way to this classroom. The moment he stepped into the room, the noisy classroom became quiet immediately, and all the students stood up straight, including the Jiang Tang. As Huang Xiaolong continued to walk in, Jiang Tang jumped out from his seat and retreated to the back of the classroom, trembling in fright. Huang Xiaolong, what do you want to do? Very obvious, he ate enough fists from Huang Xiaolong that he developed a traumatic fear towards Huang Xiaolong. That wraps up today's journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and drop a comment sharing your favorite part of the chapter. Make sure to subscribe for more epic narrations, and hit the notification bell so you're always the first to hear the next tale. Until next time, keep cultivating, and we'll meet again in the next world.